So here's a t-shirt problem where we have to use fractions to solve. The problem reads, Mr. Alterac sells t-shirts. On Monday he sells 3/4 of all his t-shirts, and on Tuesday he sells 1/3 of the rest. On Wednesday he's left with 8 t-shirts. How many did he start with? So this is a great problem to draw. So I'm going to draw this on the screen for you. And also I'll show you how maybe you might interpret this without having to draw it with fractions. Alright, so let me begin by drawing the totality of all the t-shirts that Mr. Alterac starts off with. So here's a box of t-shirts that Mr. Alterac has. This is all of his t-shirts. All shirts. And he sells 3/4 of them. So let's chop this box up into 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are 4 even pieces. It's supposed to be even pieces. And he sells 3/4 of them. So let's sell 1 1/4, 2 quarters, 3/4. Here are the 3/4 that Mr. Alterac sold. And then on Tuesday, he's left with the rest. And the rest, of course, is this box over here that hasn't been shaded in red. Really, this box represents 1/4 of the t-shirts. And that's what he's left with. He's left with 1/4 of the t-shirts. Now, on Tuesday, he sells 1/3 of this. So I have to break up this box, into 3 pieces because he sold 1/3. Each of these pieces are equally have equal amount of t-shirts in it. And so let me shade in the 1/3 that he sold. He sold 1/3 right here. Here's 1/3 sold. So he's left with 2/3 of the 1/4. He's left with 2/3 of this 1/4. Now, I don't have to continue mathematically. I can just draw the rest by breaking up the boxes, each box into thirds, the way I did the last box. And you can see that if each box is divided into 3 pieces, I'm still left with these 2/3 over here. But now each of these represents 1/12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Each little box represents 1/12 of the whole thing. And on this last day, Wednesday, Mr. Alterac is left with 8 t-shirts. So let's write that down over here. Let's choose a green color to write with, and these 2 boxes over here represents 8 t-shirts. So every pair of boxes, every 2 boxes like this is 8 t-shirts. So here's another 8 over here, here's another 8 over here, here's another 8 over here, here's another 8 down here, and here's another 8 down here. So how many 8s do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 8s. So 6 times 8, well, that's 48 t-shirts to begin with. How can we have done this without drawing? Well, we can say that Mr. Alterac starts off with 3/4. Starts off by selling 3/4 of his t-shirts, and then sells 1/3 of the rest. So you can see that 3/4 and 1/3. If we got a common denominator, that common denominator would be 12, which means that this whole box of t-shirts, this blue box that we started off with at the beginning, if we chop that up into 12s, then we can begin to understand what fraction of the t-shirts were sold. And so if there are 12 boxes, and if in the end we're left with 2 of those 12 boxes, and that represents 8, we can say that 2 boxes out of 12 is equal to 8 t-shirts out of how many? And so what we've just done is we've set up a proportion. Now this proportion, to solve it, we use cross multiplying. And so to cross multiply, the 12 multiplies the 8 and then gets divided by 2. So it's times and then divided by over here. And so if we do this with our calculators, we get 12 times 8 divided by 2, that's our question mark. And our question mark represents the total amount of t-shirts. And if we do this on our calculators, we end up with 48 is our question mark. So the total number of t-shirts is 48. Let me remind you one more time what this proportion tells us. It tells us that 2 pieces out of 12 is the same thing as 8 t-shirts out of how many t-shirts? And so cross multiply to get 48 t-shirts in total.